Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking the best friend characters from each Yu-Gi-Oh series, Duel Monsters through Yu-Gi-Oh 7s. The best friend character is a staple character of every Yu-Gi-Oh series, and it's basically self-explanatory. It's the best friend to our main protagonist. Now, there might be a little bit of a debate as to which characters are the best friend characters, so here's the ones I will be ranking. Joey from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, Sho from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Crow from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Bronk from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, Gongenzeka from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Soulburner and Kusanagi from Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. I feel like Soulburner is the traditional best friend character, but he debuted so late into the series. So for VRAINS, I am doing two characters as part of this video. And finally, Luke from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. I know some people might consider Luke the rival, but I feel like he played more so the best friend character role in that show. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy my ranking of the Yu-Gi-Oh! best friend characters. Shout out to Pink Penguin, an Egyptian god tier patron of mine, for requesting this video. I hope you all enjoy. Coming in at number 8, the worst best friend character is Bronk from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. So Bronk was a part of the Numbers Club, and I just feel like the Numbers Club is a bit of a blight on Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal as a whole. There was really no character in that club that I genuinely enjoyed, and I feel like there were so many compelling and good character storylines in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and Bronk did not have one of them. He was a pretty decent best friend to Yuma, although I felt like Kotari played a better, more compelling best friend character than Bronk did, even though she was obviously the main girl lead, and Bronk didn't really have all that much development. He fell in love with Rio, which made for a decently impactful death scene in the second half of Zexal, but outside of that, his character always felt like it was just kind of there, and there were a lot of other characters in Zexal that really overshadowed him and really overshadowed a lot of characters in the Numbers Club in general, and so Bronk for me never really did it, and in my opinion he is the worst best friend character in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming in 7th is Sho, or Cyrus in the dub, from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So Sho is always going to be pretty low on this list. I feel like he's a character that a lot of people dunk on, and rightfully so. For the first 2.5 seasons, he really is just that whiny, best friend, weakling character. The reason I have him ranked ahead of Bronk was because I felt like he did have a really good arc finale moment in Season 4 when he took over for Zayn and decided to take on the Cyber Style himself. He had a really impressive win against Makoto at the end, and I felt like his character arc actually concluded really well, but it doesn't really save what he was in the first 140, 150 episodes. It's very similar to Bronk. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX had a lot of really interesting and fascinating characters, and the best friend character wasn't really one of them. He was always just kind of there, and I felt like he didn't really improve until the very last duel. So I give him a little credit for that. I have him ranked ahead of Bronk for that reason, but Sho does come 7th on this list. Coming in 6th is everyone's favorite hot dog vendor, and that is Kusanagi. So Kusanagi is a really interesting character. I actually like him quite a bit, but I felt like I couldn't really put him any higher than this because he wasn't really involved in the direct storyline all that much. I know he was Playmaker's right-hand man, but the only duel that he actually had was against Playmaker, and that was, of course, due to Lightning's underhanded tactics, and it was a really solid and emotional duel, but he just stayed in that hot dog truck a little too much for me to justify putting him ahead of any of the other 5 characters that we will be getting into that I feel contributed a lot more to the story. He did a lot of good for Playmaker's character, but Kusanagi wasn't really going to climb too high on this list, even though he is a really cool guy, and he comes in at number 6th on this list. I feel like I usually have one pick that's pretty unpopular, and this will probably be it. Coming in at number 5 is Crow from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. So I know that's pretty low. It's literally the bottom half of this list, considering there's only 8 characters. And I know there's been this dialogue that I hate Crow or I've never liked Crow, which is completely untrue. I do like Crow. I think he's a solid character, but I do feel like he maybe is a little overrated. I've never been as big of a fan as his character as some other people. I felt the way he was thrusted into Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds always felt a little bit unnatural and a little bit forced, and he felt like a Yusei Light in the sense of never losing a duel. I know he would sometimes lose duels in the 3v3s even though his team would always win, but outside of him losing to Linden, the clock guy, which is a duel he purposefully lost that he easily could have won. In fact, the show showed us he easily could have won. Crow never lost a single duel, and I felt like he never got really any good development because he was always shown to be a super strong, invincible, awesome duelist. I did like the mini episode he had with the Black Feather Dragon card and getting that card and ultimately becoming a signer, but other than that, there weren't any really big moments that stood out with Crow like Yusei had and like Jack Atlas had and even like Aki had. And of course, I do feel like maybe unfairly, he did take a lot of the spotlight away from Aki, where it felt like the story was naturally progressing towards giving her that spotlight. They decided to give it to Crow instead. So maybe I've always had a little bit of bias there for that reason. It's probably unfair. I understand that. I don't hate Crow. I don't think he's a bad character, but I've never loved him as much as some other people do, and I am going to put him at number 5 for this video. Number 4 is the man Gongenzeka from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. So, Gongenzeka is a character that I genuinely really like. I feel like he is the epitome of what a best friend character should be. The amount of times he stood up for Yugioh and defended Yugioh and helped Yugioh out when he was getting bullied is too much to count. And I always loved his story with dueling, that he never liked to use any action cards. He never really liked to use anything that was, I guess he felt, disgracing the Gongenzeka style of dueling, and we see his deck evolve by using synchro monsters, and we see him evolve as a duelist alongside Yugioh, and I felt like Gongenzeka had some really good development throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. He was always there, and he was never annoying, and he had good mixture of comedic moments with serious moments, and he was someone that you would just always want in your corner if you were ever in a fight, and I feel like that's exactly the type of best friend character that you want to have in your corner. And so Gongenzeka, much like his nickname, The Man, does come in 4th on this list. He was a really solid character. Coming in 3rd is Luke from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. So Luke might be a little high here for some people. I'm sure a good amount of people probably haven't even really watched 7s that are watching this video, but I thought Luke was a really enjoyable character. Now, there were things that annoyed me about him. He had some comedic moments that felt very weird and forced and just inappropriate, like the pigeon duel at the end of the 3rd arc, but at times he felt like the main character of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, especially in that 2nd season. He was the one that was defeating main villains like Gohei Yuga. He was an undefeated duelist until the very last episode of 7s, which is something that I know many of us didn't really like, and seeing how much Luke genuinely cares for his friends, even though he can be a little hard-nosed, was awesome to see, especially at the end of the show, like when he tried to get Roman's memories back right when she dueled Princess G. There had been a lot of tense moments between Luke and Roman, but at the end of the day, he loves his friends, and he's a kid. He's exactly how a kid should act, and he had an insane impact on Yugioh, and Yugioh had an insane impact on him, and I feel like he probably is the character on this list that had the greatest impact on their respective show. But there were a few flaws with Luke, like his undefeated streak and how kind of annoying and thick-headed he could be at times, which makes sense because he is a kid. That prevents him from being a little higher, but I have him at a very respectable number 3. The runner-up best friend character is Soulburner from Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. I really did not think I was going to like Soulburner as much as I did, especially after his first few duels. He burst onto the scene in Season 2, and he defeated Aoi and Go instantly, which I was not a big fan of, but Soulburner got the backstory that I felt Yusaku lacked, and had one of the best emotional duels in recent memory when he dueled Revolver at the end of Season 3. One of the best duels of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, and one of the best duels probably in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that duel in itself propelled Soulburner up my character tier list, probably more so than any other duel has for any other character. I just absolutely loved that duel. He has a pretty good impact on Playmaker too, trying to open him up to the world, and I feel like with the continued story we've gotten in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, the two of them are preparing to battle Revolver with I being reborn. If you don't know that story, I'll have a video on that coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. But when it was all said and done, I felt Soulburner was one of the more complete, best characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, and when it comes to these best friend characters, I feel he's one of the best, and I have him at number 2. The best friend character in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. It's not often where one of my favorite characters is still the original, but this is the case when it comes to the best friend characters. Joey, I believe, is a perfect best friend character. The amount of backstory he got, the amount of character exposition that he got, and the amount of character growth that he had throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters was insane. At times, he felt like the second main character of the story, of course, behind Yugi, and he had so many great rivalries as well. I can think of the rivalry with Weevil Underwood, the rivalry with Marek, the rivalry with Kaiba, and of course, he had his own motivations for wanting to duel. Not only did he want to get better, but we know he wanted to win the Duelist Kingdom prize money to pay for his sister Serenity's surgery, and that's a cause that's very easy to root for. I feel like Joey had a perfect mixture of being a clown, being a fool, but also being a serious, compelling character whenever you needed him, and I feel like any new duelist can relate to Joey Wheeler, because when he first started his journey, he was a terrible duelist. Remember, he lost to Taya, he lost to Anzu in the very first episode in that tabletop game. So Joey was the noob duelist that we all were when we started dueling, and depending on how good of a duelist you are now, you might be able to relate to Joey as the show goes on and as he's able to put up a really good fight against Kaiba and against Marek. And seeing him rely on luck was also a really fun aspect that you don't really get all the time in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, and sometimes it paid off and sometimes it didn't. I think of the Siegfried duel where him relying on luck actually cost him. I haven't even had a chance to get into his dynamic with Mai, but when it's all said and done, I feel like Joey is the most complete character of these 8. I think he's one of the best characters genuinely in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And in my opinion, he is the greatest best friend Yu-Gi-Oh! Character that we have ever seen. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I am so excited to see how you would rank these 8 characters, so please help yourself and rank all of them, or just give me your top 3 down below in the comments. I want to thank once again Pink Penguin for being an Egyptian God tier patron, and for requesting this video for the month of December. Really awesome choice, and I had a blast making it. And if you guys have any suggestions for videos that you'd like to see me do, please leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patron, Panther J, to my Diamond tier patrons, Latrell Smith and Jesse Woods, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, Pink Penguin. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and whoever is a YouTube channel member. You guys help me out so much. And if you want some exclusive channel perks, definitely check out both of those sites and features. Be sure to check out my channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime content. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.